Tell us something that we don't know or that people aren't talking about enough.
I don't think people are talking enough about a full population health record that are available for our patients so that we can really treat them across the continuum of their health.
I think what a lot of people don't know about healthcare IT is that women drive most of the dollars that are spent in healthcare IT, but we have only a fraction of the voice to make decisions about health IT. I try to bring attention to that issue, and I believe it is unseen.
Tell us something that we don't know or that maybe people aren't talking enough about.
You know what, I keep hearing that telehealth may be a little on the decline, and I think people are not fully appreciating why that is. What we've seen is that patient demand is actually quite high. Patients want it. However, physicians who are office-based physicians, they very much want to get back to normal for themselves. And so I think the demand is there, but the supply is going down, and that represents an opportunity.
Since we're so data focused and since the platform focuses on integration, analytics, machine learning to enhance those analytics and insights and then provide those insights at the point of care or where it's needed the most through workflow integration. A little commercial if you don't mind. But it provides a context. So we're used to dealing with large amounts of heterogeneous clinical data. So I was just curious, being here, I wanted to know, well, how much data is really in the healthcare industry globally? And I'm still not sure I've got this right in my head. It's incomprehensible. It's something like 3,000 exabytes, where each exabyte is 1 billion gigabytes. And so we're talking geometrically larger volumes of data. And for everybody who's listening, you all know that, sure, we're moving towards FHIR interoperability standards. We're at FHIR 4. We have code sets. We've got duplicate code sets like SNOMED and ICD-10. They're both great, but they have to be rationalized. So you have all this data. Even when it's standardized, it's not harmonized. So I don't know if everybody really has a picture of just how heterogeneous it is out there when you're in the analytics space, the data space.
So tell us something that we don't know or that maybe people aren't talking about enough about.
Sure. So something that many people aren't aware of, and I brought to light at HIMSS yesterday at my presentation about an I Choose event, is that behavioral health providers were not part of meaningful use, which means that we lack the infrastructure to really support some of the digital health technology transformation applications that we're seeing arise today. And I think that if we take a look at the infrastructure for behavioral health and try to fix some of those infrastructure gaps we see, I think that we're really going to be able to find a better marriage between the physical health space and the behavioral health space.
I don't think people are talking enough about there's an inequality existing in the world of digital health. There's a raging debate right now about the ongoing reimbursement coverage around telehealth. And obviously with the pandemic, telehealth came to the fore because it's the only way of engaging with the clinician. That appears that it's going to have continuing reimbursement coverage. But when you initiate a telehealth experience, how do you then refer the patient into a digital tool? And whereas patients that have an employer, have insurance coverage, have access to the Livongos of the world, or the behavioral health tools of the world, or the different chronic care digital tools that help facilitate care in this remote environment, those aren't accessible to people on CMS. Medicare and Medicaid is not reimbursing for that. So there's an inequality and disparity going on around digital health in the country.
What I found was really interesting, there was a presentation at the nursing symposium talking about the concept of, say, example, Danielle's a nurse and she's licensed in 10 different states in her career. I have 10 different licensing numbers. So they're taking the concept, what I learned in Estonia, about kind of being an e-citizen and having a card that could store that data. So essentially making you one person with one license. And any things like your immunization record, which is really important to have when you're entering a hospital or institution, or even your certificates, like your basic life support. So that was kind of a new concept, I thought, for the nurses. And so I just kind of explained the concept of being an e-citizen in Estonia and using these cards, I say, as for a banking ledger for signing. So the nurses, that was a new concept for them. I learned a little bit more about wearables. I would say that was a new thing. There's a new wearable that I discovered that is basically almost like a tank top and a headband that covers your body. So it's kind of like your heart rate and your oxygen level and your O2. So I would say those were my top two discoveries.
I think it's the startup communities that we have here, people who are trying to enter into the market. The enthusiasm and the excitement to be here. You know, you see some of these companies, it's their first year exhibiting, and they're just, the energy is contagious. They want to learn, they're little sponges, they want to meet everybody. That's where you're reminded of what our community does here.
Well, exchanging the data, one of our projects is in Puerto Rico. We're building the HIE for the Department of Health. So it's been a very interesting being able to capture all of the labs, especially on the COVID pandemic, and working with the Department of Health and taking all the different HL7s from the different limbs and giving it to the epidemiology department, for example, in a specific format so that they don't have to connect to 1,000 labs. So, you know, that type of exchange in reality and changing lives has been very interesting.